Today we're talking about this one, number 38, The Arrival. Now before we start, I just want to mention that yes, my face is rather red. That's because yesterday, unfortunately for us Brits, the temperature reached a stunning, breathtaking 4 degrees and I was practically melting. Thankfully, I got away with just a little bit of sunburn, so don't fret, I'm still alive, okay? Big sigh of relief. And I was alive enough to read book 38, The Arrival, an Axe narration. And it was written by ghostwriter, her first one, Kim Morris. So let's do what I sometimes do, which is just cover the writing style. I thought it was very good. The characters were in character. It was great. You know, there weren't that many errors. There were a couple, one of which I will be pointing out. But on the whole, the pacing was good. I think it was one of the better paced books we've had. Writing style, fine. There are a few words that were used a lot here or there, which made me... That was a Kim Morris word here or there, which made it a bit more distinctive. But yeah, all right. Pretty good. Already better than the existential crisis for us Animorphs fans that was The Weakness, book 37, which, yes, is alive and well on my bookshelf. So it's got scars. It's got scars. Will this one be getting torn to shreds? Spoiler, no. So let's delve into this one, shall we? It starts off really fast-paced, and I really like it, similar to how book 36 started, where we're straight into the action, off on a run, and it's great. What happens is, they're in a building, and there's somebody being tortured. That's right, this book starts off with torture. Great, love it. And who is it being tortured? It is Mr. King, Eric King's father, as he is purported to be in their little hologram world. He's being tortured, and the animals are waiting there in a pipe, just listening to what's going on there in cockroach morph. Now, the reason that he's in there is because this is a newspaper printing place that prints for the sharing, which is obviously the Yerk-run cultish group thing. So the Animorphs have seen this headline and they sent in Mr. King, or Mr. King went in. Right. What happened was Mr. King decided he wanted to find out what this organisation was all about. You know, the ultimate spies, as we've been told several times. Mr. King walks in and is immediately taken and tortured. Ultimate spies, ladies and gentlemen. Ultimate spies. Yeah, so he's in there in a chair, which he can easily get out of, which he does later on. He's just sitting there accepting this. Yeah, fucking just get it over with, pretending to be tortured. And so the animals are like, we must rescue Mr. King. We must do this because he can't do it himself, even though he can. So they go into another room, go into Battlemorph, break in, whack these guards around a bit, and turns out it's a trap. Who'd have seen that coming? Vista 3's there, a bunch of Horpagir are there in this tiny little newspaper printing business. And there's a fight that breaks out, and they go into a hallway. The animals are trying to get away, and there's a lift, elevator, whatever you Americans call it. And they're pushing the button, and the Visser is there, and he actually says, aha, you fell for my trap. I knew that a headline on the sharing front page would bring you here. Now, 2 things here. 1, Visser 3 is stupid for thinking they'd fall for it. And number 2, the animals are even stupider for falling for it. Just crazy. Crazy. But, you know, this is just the opening thing to get us into the plot. I'm not going to be too harsh on it, even though it's stupid. But what happens is then the elevator opens and 4 actual Andalites come in and start to turn the battle. Battle turns. And Visser 3 says, I've been foiled again. I shall have my revenge, and slinks away, escapes. The Horpagir run off. There are some Taxons there as well, not that they do anything. And yeah, so Mr. King is rescued, and we find out that, oh, look, there are 4 Andalites, and they scurry off as well. And the animals have a think about this, I suppose. Now, I hate to bring up my Chi conspiracy theory again, but what is it I'm always saying about the Chi? Oh, they're always making the Animorphs do things that lead them into a trap where the Vis is just there. We've got it again. And it's an even more clear scenario. Mr. King, once the animals the Animorphs come in, just sort of, right, I'm free now. He doesn't even need their help. He doesn't. Why doesn't he hologram himself still in the chair while he breaks free of the chair and walks out? Why can't he do? He can do that. Why is he fucking dithering around? Oh, Animorphs, please come help me. By the way, the Visser isn't here. This isn't a trap I've set again. This always happens. It's another case where the Chi could just get themselves out of this situation, but they're like, nope, let's get the Animorphs involved. And what do you know? Visser Free is basically standing there next to Mr. King. Do you reckon they'll be here in a minute? The Chi are scumbags. Let's get that through our heads, right? It was a conspiracy theory. It's now canon. The Chi are playing fucking games, right? Now that we've got that settled, we can carry on with the rest of this book. The Animorphs meet back in the barn to discuss what they saw. And I think it's great how they've seen the Andalites, and all this time they've been waiting for the Andalites to emerge and win the war for them. But the first thing that the vast majority of them, practically all of them, say is, oh, can we trust this? I don't believe this. Nah, let's take a step back and think about this. And it's great. It's great to see that character progression coming to light again. But Rachel throws a comment at Axe saying, I hope you don't betray us again like you did back in book 18, The Decision, where he sided with the Andalites. And Axe is like, no. And he runs off saying, you think I'm disloyal, how dare you? And he runs off, and it's... And, well, before that, let's just say that one of the Andalites that came through from the elevator was female. And there's part of this chapter where they're saying, oh, Axe has got a crush on a female. And he's like, no. But they're like, yeah, we know what's going on here. That plays a role further through the book. So we later come to a scene where Tobias and Axe meet up. And Axe is practicing his tail blade technique thing. Obviously, he wants to show off to this bird with the sweet ass that he likes, or he doesn't think he likes, but he actually likes, but he doesn't want to admit that he likes. And then Tobias just says, let's go have some cinnamon buns. Cool, let's go have some cinnamon buns. They fly off to the mall, go in, and what do you know? There's a crazy girl screaming about jelly beans. Beans. And it's like, well, there's one of them. So they go up, take her away, and they have a discussion. She goes off and tells Axe where to meet this group. He goes off, and he was supposed to meet on his own, but this is where the shenanigans begin with the Animorphs, and I love it. He was supposed to go on his own, but he brought Jake with him, and of course, he brought them all. He brought them all even though he wasn't supposed to, because even he now is not trusting these Andalites, especially what happened in book 18. He is even a bit skeptical, takes a step back from it. Goes up, says hello, and they start to talk. Jake has gone along with them, or with him, and he's in tiger morph, and he and Axe come up to these Andalites, and he immediately starts to demorph. Now I'm thinking at this point, why is Jake doing that? Why would you, if you're so suspicious of this lot, shut up, seagulls. Christ. Why, if he's so suspicious of these Andalites, is he taking that risk of revealing himself as a human when he doesn't even know them, when this is the first time he's met them? Why is he doing that? And at first I was like, that seems a bit out of character, blah, 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 blah. But then as the book went on and on, it sort of became a bit more obvious. He's playing a game, Jake. And by extension, the other Animorphs. A very cunning game. And then Jake has one of his finer moments again. He's talking to these Andalites, and we've got the names, right? So the female is Estrid, the one that Axe likes. You've got Gornod? Gonrod. And you've got Aloth, and you've got Arbat. Arbat. Yeah, I do apologise. It's not like they're called John, Steve, and Dave. You know, they're alien names. It's harder to remember them. Gornod, Aloth, Arbat, Estrid. Those are your 4 ones. Gornod is the commander, the one who's supposedly in charge of this little group. Aloth is an assassin. And Arbat is an intelligence person. Intelligence, whatever. And Gornod is immediately dismissive of Jake and starts to talk to Axe, and he's saying, you should pay attention to me, not this silly human man-child. Axe says no. And then Jake does this whole thing where let's find the page, shall we? So Gornod is talking to Jake. You are an untrained human child playing at war. We are highly trained warriors. You and your band, whoever they may be, will cease to fight. That is an order. I don't take orders, Prince Jake snapped. I give them. And now this meeting is over. He turned and began to walk away. Jake, it's just fucking brilliant. I love it. I love this character. And just how brilliant he's become. Brilliant. Right, you think you're in charge? Right, I'm off. That immediately puts the ball in the other side of the court, or whatever the fucking phrase is. That puts him in charge. Or at least puts him in charge of his own thing. Right. My fiance's trying to talk at me again. There's then a little scuffle as Gornod tries to bring the situation back to his favour, and he points a shredder at Jake and Axe. But then, what do you know? The Animorphs have got the upper hand. Cassie and Marco are both different species of snake, crawl onto Aloth and Arbat and say, right, we're going to kill you if you don't do as you're told. Brilliant. And this is how the whole book plays out. This sets the scene for everything to come, where these Andalites think, we're in charge, we know what we're doing, but Jake all along just is one step ahead. And it's great. The things that Jake is able to do at this stage of his leadership is phenomenal. Phenomenal. He has the upper hand and they don't even know it. But one thing that they learn from these Andalites is that the actual Andalite fleet are off in some other part of space entirely. That it's just the 4 of them have been sent down to assassinate Visifree, essentially because he's an embarrassment to the Andalite military. That's all they're there for. The other Andalites, nowhere to be seen, not even bothering. And this comes as a shock to the Animorphs, of course. So they meet, well, after there's a little scuffle between Axe and Estrid, but it's more playful, like a challenge, and the other Andalites are betting on it, and it's all good fun, really nice little scene. But then the Animorphs meet later at the barn. Now, I didn't know what was going on at this stage in the book. It's all sort of revealed later on. But what they display is the Animorphs just completely losing their shit, essentially. So they come in and they say, right, so the Andalites aren't coming. They just send a small force to wipe out Visifree and that's it. They're not even coming. The main force isn't coming to save us. What the fuck are we here for? Why are we doing this? Because all along it's been the idea of someday the Andalites will come and give us the backup and take over this and our job will be done. Now that that apparently is not happening, the Animorphs are rightly infuriated and it just breaks apart. At least it's shown to be breaking apart. All the Animorphs decide, no, that's it, I'm fucking off. Tobias just flies off. Rachel says, oh, I'm going to do this my own way now. Fuck your orders, Jake. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Cassie says, I can't justify killing Hawk-Bajir anymore. I'm out. Marco, he was out as well. And Jake just says, that's it. Everyone's disbanded. Nobody wants to do this anymore. It's over. Axe says to Jake, look, you are my prince and I will stick by you. But Jake says, no, it's over, Axe. You take control of yourself now. If you want to go to Gornod, you go to Gornod. You are no longer under my command. You do as you wish. And so it does. And there are a few birds flying around this place that it's quite heavily hinted are the Andalites spying, watching all this going on. But the Animorphs know this. The Animorphs know this. And this whole thing is a sham. It's a sham that they don't believe this, which explains why. Because at first I saw the bit where Tobias just sort of flew down and said, right, that's it, I'm off. And I thought, That's a bit weird. Where's that come from? Why's Tobias just taking this U-turn? But no, it's all a farce, and deliberately so, by Jake, and by extension the other Animorphs. But even though it was a complete farce, there were still some cracking lines in here. This one from Marco. Hey Cassie, you know what? Who cares? I mean, who cares about all your moralising? Are you even paying attention? What do you think, that the 6 of us are going to win this war by ourselves? 4 kids are better than an alien, 6 kids who can turn into animals. Big deal. We've hurt the Yeerks, we've frustrated them, we've slowed them down, but we're pebbles in their shoes. This has always been about us being the resistance until the Andalites could do a D-Day and save our sorry butts. Great lines. Great lines. Especially that one, that who cares about all your moralising? Brilliant. Brilliant stuff. And he takes it very seriously, obviously, Marco, this little facade. So that's it, the Animorphs have disbanded, which means that they're no longer an issue for the Andalites to deal with. And Axe goes to find Estrid, who takes him to see the captain, the commander, and the other Andalites. Meets up with them, gets the grand tour, which consists of walking into a hallway, Aloth saying, there are a few decks, don't go to deck 2, and that's it. That was the tour, grand tour. It really was some tour. But Axe starts to delve deeper into what's going on here. There's a lot of confusion because some of the puzzle pieces just don't seem to fit. And it's playing through his mind the whole time. So he knows that they're after Visser 3 and that they want to take him out. And they want to learn from him the best way to get to Visser 3. And he tells them about the community centre that we've seen in books 33 and 37. Now, I know that both those books were utter catastrophes of written literature, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to wipe the memory of the community centre from my mind. It still exists, you know. I'm not going to decanonise that particular aspect, but that's where he says the Visser goes occasionally, which is a bit of a weak point for the Visser, you got to admit. He just goes there. You know, if he really thought that these were Andalite bandits who probably wouldn't give a shit about humans, wouldn't you think that they'd just blow up the community centre while he's in it? Unless he doesn't think they're Andalites, but he very clearly does. So how that works, I'm not too sure, but regardless. We find out that Aloth is... We already knew that Aloth was the assassin. And Arbat is Alaran's brother. And there's this little spat between them saying, oh, you wouldn't shoot your own brother, you'd hesitate at the last minute. And Arbat's like, no, I demand the first shot, and if I fail, then you can take the next shot. And Aloth is just like, fine, go ahead, you take that shot. All the while, Axe and Estrid are getting all touchy-feely. He takes her to the gardens and shoves jelly beans or chocolate bars in her face, and then they kiss. I mean, it's a nice little scene. It really is, and it sets up the conflict later and what have you. But yeah, nice little scene. But the Andalites eventually go to the community centre and stealthily sneak into a big room where the Visser is speaking. And they've got their shredders. And Arbat, of course, is going to take the first shot. And he misses from an easy range, as Axe rightly thinks that should have been an easy shot. He's demonstrated how good he is at shooting back on the ship. Why did he miss that? He misses twice. Aloth shoots, but because the Visser is alerted, he manages to duck it and miss. The human controllers in the area flee. A bunch of Hawkbajir come in. There's a big fight. They form a pyramid to get up to the balcony where they are, which was strange, but whatever. Gonrad has legged it. Axe is there, sort of stunned. Aloth comes back, brings him back out, and they run down a hallway. But Aloth is injured. He gets sliced up a bit. He's still alive, and Axe thinks we can get back to the ship because by this point they are fleeing to go back to the ship. But Arbat, through the head, shot. Aloth dead. Gone. Dead-a-rooney. Expired. And Axe is like, what you do? What you do? This is murder. This is murder. But he runs away regardless. And they go back onto the ship. Gonrod is there. Estrid had been there all along. And that's that. Now that that particular plan has been foiled, Arbat demands that they go to the Yerk pool to find Visser 3 and to take him out. So Aximili details where to find the Yerk pool, how to get there, etc., etc. Unaware of what precisely is going on in the background to all this, he's tried to access the ship's computer while he's been on guard duty and was unable to get in. But he's very suspicious. There are all these puzzle pieces that aren't quite fitting or coming into his head, and you're thinking, what's going on here then? So what he does before this happens is he flies out just before he's on guard duty, comes back, relieves Gornod of his post, and he's brought Mr. King along. That scumbag Mr. King that still nobody seems to suspect is up to no good. They still think he's fine, even though they really shouldn't. And he's there, and he's, for whatever reason, the Chia are able to just bypass Andalite technology, which is a bit of a stretch, but how many times has Animorphs not stretched for certain things? So he goes in, and Axe is able to find out that these people, the people on board the ship, are all expunged from the records, or they've been labelled as being killed in a battle in the part of space where all the military currently are. They're dead, according to the records. Why is that? And Axe suddenly realises if they're recorded as dead, they're not expected to come back. This is a suicide mission. So that's what he gathers from that. So because his suspicions are heightened, he goes up to deck 2, where he was not allowed to go previously. Estrid is there. It turns out she's a scientist or what have you, and she's working on this little vial thing. And there's loads of dead bodies and these caskets everywhere, and the smell is so strong, the smell of death. You know the smell of death if you've smelt the smell of death. It's not pleasant, let me tell you that. So he goes in, finds her, and she drops it, but he's able to save it in time, and she's like, no, give it back to me. Give me my precious. And they discuss what it is. Turns out it's very much like the quantum virus that was released on the Hawk-Bajir planet that wiped out the Hawk-Bajir. This one is meant to target Yerks, but it may mutate and affect the hosts. Okay? There's a big word there, might mutate to affect the host. And Axe is like, you can't do this. You can't just throw this experimental thing out there. And she's like, but it's for the greater good. You know, this race, whatever, we need to do this to stop the Yerks from spreading their evil across the galaxy and whatever else. Axe is like, no, you don't understand. And then suddenly Arbat's there, and he's got a shredder. And he says, you've discovered my evil scheme. And then he puts a cage around them, like a glowy green bar cage thing, so they're trapped. Axe says to Estrid, look, let's get this straight. They've expunged you from the records. You don't exist according to the files. So this is a suicide mission. You are not expected to return. And then suddenly, all high and mighty, we need to do this to get rid of the greater good, is like, oh shit, I'm going to die? No, scratch that. Scratch the greater good. I'm going to die now. Oh, Axe, I'm on your side now. This is the bit of the story that actually I didn't like. She just turned on a coin like that. I'm doing this, we've got to do this. This is for the sake of all the galaxy. Wait, I'm going to die? Oh, fuck that. I don't want to die. I mean, I get it. Some people are a bit like that, you know, that they aren't really capable of self-sacrifice, so I get it to a degree, but the flip-flop just seemed so easy. It just happened. But yeah, Arbat reveals, yeah, you weren't supposed to live through this. You weren't supposed to live through this. I've locked Gonrod in his compartment, so he's not going to be troubling us. Haha, I have the vial now, and he runs off, leaving them there. But this is the reveal. The Animorphs never truly split up. All along, they've been sort of working in the background to see what's going on, and now they reveal themselves, right, we've been seeing the game that's been played, we've been playing a game on them, let's fucking sort this out. So they release Estrid and Axe, and then they go off to find Arbat, who's taken this vial, this quantum virus sort of thing, and he's going to take it to the Yurt pool. They do a load of tracking. They go to the community centre again, which apparently has this big entrance to the Yurt pool. They go down trying to find him. Eventually they decide he's already in there, so they all go human, which is very wise, because remember, I think this is taken into account the fact that there are hunter robots and biofilters, unlike the last book. I think they're never mentioned, but the fact that they go in as humans makes it seem to me like they're taking that into account. So they go in as human and start looking around this vast complex for Arbat. Look for somebody who doesn't act like a normal human, because he's in a human morph and he's just sort of a fucking Ministry of Silly Walks over here. And they eventually spot him, and he's on a pier. He's about to have his head lowered into the pool. So Axe and Estrid run up. No, Arbat, please cease and desist. And he reaches up, grabs a Dracon beam from a Hork-Bajir and starts trying to fire. And then all hell breaks loose. So Axe and Estrid say, the Hork-Bajir are Andalites. So the Hork-Bajir are now just sort of standing around like, okay, who do I shoot? So that just causes all this confusion. And then what happens is, one thing I've got to mention, by the way. So as Arbat is about to shoot, as he has shot Axe and Estrid, and all hell is starting to break loose, this happens. So Jake says, "Battle morphs," I heard Prince Jake yell. Far away or near, I could not tell. But that's in thought speak quotations, which would imply that he's already morphed, which was never established and is contrary to his orders. So I'm pretty sure that's an editing error. But if it wasn't an editing error, then Jake is just in the middle of the Yurt pool, battle morphs, which would give him away as a human. So either way, it's wrong. Thankfully, it's only a little niggly bit. It's nothing too serious, but it still doesn't make sense either way you put it. Whether it's an error of editing or whether it's not an error of editing, it's wrong, okay? Glad we got that sorted. So Arbat, instead of just standing up and dropping the vial into the pool, decides, okay, I'm going to briefly run towards the cages. Why? Plot convenience, perhaps? It seems to be, because that has this whole thing where, oh, they're chasing him, they're trying to look for him, they're demorphing and all this sort of stuff, and all hell is breaking loose. The Animorphs are now stuck in front of a bunch of cages, and the cages are filled with human hosts who are forming a chain in front of them, so they can't be shot. The Animorphs can't be shot, which is a nice little moment. Obviously, the human hosts know where their bread is buttered. They know who's truly out to save them, so there's that. But all this was for the sake of what? Arbat then runs back to the pier and says, look, I'm going to put this in the water now. Why did you run off the pier to go over there, stand around like a dick, and then run back to the pier to say, I'm here now? Why that makes no sense. Why? You've got the fucking vial, you're standing on the pier, all this confusion's going on, just go bing, bong, gone. Instead, he's got it and he thinks, right, run to the gauges, stand there for a bit, get knocked about a bit, get grabbed by the gorilla, get free of gorilla, run back to the pier, back to original position, get ready to throw it in? What? I mean, I've harped on about this enough, but just the inanity of that needed to be thoroughly delved into. But this begs another question. It does, because on page 134, Axe is having an inner monologue. I had to get Arbat. He could demorph, remorph, and we would lose him permanently, and possibly lose much of the human species. So the big threat dangling over the Animorphs here is the loss of the human species to this virus. Okay, there's a problem here. So we know that most of the Yurts are restricted to this area around this pool, because this is where the sharing started, this is where the invasion began, this is the main epicenter of what's going down, okay? It must be an incredibly minute percentage of the human population is affected by the Yurks. So dropping this vial into this pool would surely affect a minuscule number of people, which is still too many people, but this idea that Axe has that the whole human race is going to suffer because of this is just patently wrong. If it were something that would affect the whole human race, why would it need to dump it into the Yerk pool? It just, either way, it makes no sense. It doesn't. And it's unfortunate that this is a major plot hole in what is otherwise a surprisingly fantastic read. It really is. But what happens then is Estrid she does a Deus Ex Machina, shoots his hand off, and with it the vial, so it's gone. Gone. Gonrod has control of the ship again, because he managed to get out of his compartment. And he does a Deus Ex Machina, so it's a duplex machina. And he blows a hole in the ceiling, comes down with his ship, opens the ramp, blows a hole in the pier so the Hawk-Bajir can't get to the Animorphs. Axe and Estrid jump on. It's never mentioned that the Animorphs all jump on, but apparently they do as well. Apparently. And then Arbat is there. Please help me too, I'm also technically an Andalite. Now, do you know, like in Disney, I've got the specific image of Toy Story in my head. Whenever they're escaping a horrible situation, the bad guy is always saying, oh, please, just help me as well. And the good guys tend to try to pull them up as well, at least try to help the villain. More often than not, I'm thinking of my Disney films and kids' media from what I remember of it. But that's always the case, that the bad guy is also like, please help me too. Good guy reaches out a hand and tries to pull up as well, but the villain always, mustache twirl, I now pull you down. But at least the good guys always think, right, you know, got to put aside differences to save you from this horrible fate. This doesn't happen here. Axe is just like, nah, fuck him. Leaves him to get eaten by Taxons. It's like, are you really the good guy now? It's just my sensibilities, you know. After growing up as a kid and seeing all these scenes of the heroes trying to save the bad guy, even though they're the bad guy, and then Axe comes along, Arbat's reaching up, please help me. Oh, fuck off. No, I'm not helping you. And I've always, I hate to say it, but it's looking like I've been brought up to think that the good guy needs to try to save everyone despite their differences, you know. Hope that redemption is possible and what have you, but and reading this as like, Axe, you know, he could have been redeemed in some way. He just left him to die, and it's a bit shocking. But the Animorphs are at that stage of the war now where does it seem right? I don't know. Really don't know, because it is what it is. That's what happened. Whether it's right or wrong, that's up to you to decide on this one. So Gonrod and Estrid are the only two Andalites of the 4 arrivals. That's them. It's those two. And they're going to head home to tell the rest of the fleet, the Andalite homeworld, what the hell happened. They're not going to stay with the Animorphs, which I thought was a bit... I mean, I get it. I really do get it, because these two Andalites still think that humans are inferior. Why are we going to hang around here? They go sort of to spread the news on what's happening, probably to report back. So they're going to go. And Axe gives Estrid a last couple of bits of food or whatever for the journey back and says to her, I still don't like you. And she's just like, no. And they bugger off. And Axe has been putting on his brave face of, yeah, I didn't like you. But Cassie knows that he wanted a bit of that booty, you know. He wanted that. And he feels lonely. And even though she wasn't a very nice person, he still wanted to have his naughty ways. So, and the last line is good. I found some space to be alone and I cried. And I thought it was a beautiful way to end the book, that he's chosen the humans, he's sticking with them, and he betrayed, deceived his fellow Andalites for Jake. But all the while, he was lonely. He knew that this was possibly his best chance. He wouldn't go back with them because he had a war to fight here, but he feels lonely. That's that, and it's emotional, very emotional. That's the end of the book. Now, after the disaster that was book 37, I said this book's probably going to get a 10 out of 10 because it wasn't shite. That I'll be incredibly lenient on this book, okay? I am going to give it a high score, and not because it's come off the back of the fucking catastrophe that was book 37, but because this is a genuinely good book. I had a few cheer moments in this, and a few moments of what the hell is going on here. I wanted to know more. The pacing was great. The mystery to it all, wondering what the hell is going on here. The realisation towards the end that, hold on, Jake has played the Andalites here, and he's played them beautifully. He's pretended to disband the Animorphs so that they can just go and spy on these Andalites to see what's truly going on. And he was always one step ahead. Jake's leadership, okay. He still hasn't gone up to Mr. King and say, what the fuck is all this about? So dock a point for that. But 9 out of 10, brilliant from Jake. All throughout this book, apart from that first bit, really good, really top-notch plan, and he thought of it straight away. He didn't let any opportunity slip. He knew exactly what he was doing, why he was doing it, and he knew when to act. Good stuff. Regarding the Mr. King thing at the beginning, I think that is also a foretelling, and I think this is the authors trying to subtly tell us that the Chi are up to no good. What happened in this book? A trap was set by the Animorphs for the Andalites. They deceived them and made them fall into a trap. And that's essentially what the Andalites did as well to each other. It was deception everywhere. Every part of this book is deception. Who's the ultimate deceiver? The Chi. At the start of the book, oh, help me, help me, lures you into the trap. And that theme carried on through the rest of the book. It's almost as if the authors are saying, this is a parallel, guys. Can you not see this? Mr. King is the deceiver. It's there. It's in front of us. The clue that we needed. The parallel to the rest of the story. That makes sense. That proves, once and for all, that the Chi are dicks. In terms of character development for Axe, I think this was the next logical step for him. There's nothing too out there, nothing too crazy, but seeing how he reacts after, for example, he reacted in book 18 was very good. Seeing him just, this beautiful Andalite put in front of him, to see how far he's come to say no, and to immediately distrust, come back, and with Jake formulate this plan to deceive the Andalites. To see him come to that stage when this temptress is there in front of him, it's just showing how far Axe has come, and it's really good. So it's a logical step for his character development, and there's nothing too crazy, but it works and it fits and it pushes him that little further step along. So I'm happy with that. Is this book filler? Hell no, this book is not filler. Our first hint that the Andalites are well, we already knew they were genocidal folks, but that their genocidal tendencies would rear their ugly faces again. This book is that first sign, that demoralising sign for the Animorphs. So not only is this a great story, but it is integral. And it's just a fun read, really fun read. It's just let down by these plot holes, the few that I've mentioned through here, especially the one at the end. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a low 10 out of 10, but it's a 10 out of 10. It's been a while since we've had a 10, but this one thoroughly deserved it. I read it all in one go. It was amazing. I loved it. And yeah, took a really strong recovery after the disaster that was book 37, which was a 1 out of 10. We've gone straight to a 10. Kim Morris, excellent job. Brilliant book. Seriously underrated. And I can't thank the series enough for saving me after the last week's disaster. Next week, what's going to happen? We've got The Hidden, the Buffalo one. So let's hope for equally fun things to come. I hope you like my new setup, by the way. I've put the calendar up. It's July. It's not 99, it was at 2000, whatever. But that's that. That's the video. You're all done. Right, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you next week. Ta-ra!